old. I never went to school past 15 years old, and everything is going nicely. So, still a lot of challenges up and down, but it seems like this yoga has been has done something special. So again, thank you. And next, what I'd like to share with everybody is a power yoga. What is power yoga? Because this is the most famous question for me. What is power yoga? So I'd like to explain that, because when you start to move here, I want you to understand what you're doing. If I don't explain this, then you will not understand what you are doing. You will just think you are doing these movements. And I don't want you guys to think you are just doing these movements. This really is not about movements. Really, I believe that all yoga poses are stupid. Do you guys understand English? You're all sitting there like, shoot, maybe I need to translate. So you know this word stupid, right? Good. But sometimes the definitions are different. So I just want to be clear on the definition. When I say stupid, this word stupid means, to me, it means without intelligence. Without intelligence. And I feel like all yoga poses are stupid. I don't feel like a yoga pose has intelligence. What's intelligent or not intelligent is the person who's doing the pose. A yoga pose is very much like a knife. You can hurt someone very badly with a knife. The knife is a powerful tool, a special tool. Without knives, we maybe not, as humans, might not be where we are today. But at the same time, knife can be very harmful, and it can be very helpful. The knife is just a stupid piece of metal. What matters is how you use the knife, and this is the exact same thing with these poses. And really, this is power yoga. Power yoga is, the mind that's using the knife, the mind that's using the pose. It's not the pose. The poses really don't matter so much. It's not surprising that us Westerners have turned this into so much about the poses, because, we're so fucking obsessed with our bodies. We're so obsessed with how we look. We're so obsessed with staying young and staying pretty and staying skinny. It's not surprising that we've turned this into something physical, because that's easy for us. We've grown up watching sports. We've grown up understanding exercise is important. This is part of our culture in so many ways. But this really has very little to do with yoga. And, I won't talk a lot about myself, it's not important. But as I said to you, I've been practicing for 33 years. I've been teaching yoga for 27 years. I lived in India for a long time. And, every December, at the end of the year, I add up how many classes I taught that year. So when it comes December, I will add it up, and I will take this number and put it on the last number. The last number is 16,000. This is how many yoga classes I taught. If any of you have been to LA, my classes have over 100 people in them. So you can imagine how many different bodies that I've seen, right? How many bodies I've seen. And I also teach all over the world, whether it's the Middle East, or it's Asia, or it's Europe, or it's Americas, or South Americas. So all different types of bodies. So, when I'm talking to you, I'm not talking because I read it in a book. I'm just telling you the experience, having done this for so long. And this is my experience, that this is not yoga, the physical practice. And there's a little story, I want you guys to know this story just to kind of support a little bit. The yogis were meditating all day long. They found all the power of meditation. Meditation addresses your mental state. So and if you live in India, if you go to India, you will not be able to even find a physical class. 99.99% of all of yoga in India is not physical. It's meditation practices and devotional practices. There's physical classes, but it's not so many. And now we're being told by modern medicine that 88% of the diseases on our body are coming from the stress that we make in our mind. I don't know, maybe the yogis understood this. And so, the yogis were meditating. They were addressing their mental state. This is what meditation is. And they were sitting around so much that they noticed that their muscles were getting weak and the blood was not flowing. You know, that their bodies were not so healthy because they were sitting kind of like us, you know, sitting in front of the computer or sitting behind the desk at work or sitting on the train or sitting behind the steering wheel or sitting in front of the TV. You know, so not too dissimilar from us. But what they noticed is that their bodies were atrophying. So they decided to create a system of exercises to keep the muscles toned and to keep the blood flowing. You know, so they could meditate for longer periods of time without hurting their body. This is kind of the story that I've heard from this, where this physical yoga comes from. So basically, the physical practice is calisthenics. They're exercises coming from India. But because these yogis were meditating for so long, right? And when you meditate, what you're trying to do is you're trying to create awareness. Okay, this is what happens when you meditate. So these yogis were meditating, trying to create awareness, and their goal was to become really aware, really present, to quiet down their mind. Like Patanjali says the goal of all of yoga, chitta, vritta, nirodha. He doesn't say the goal of yoga is to stick your legs behind your head. He doesn't say the goal of yoga is to touch your head to your legs. He says the goal of yoga is chitta, vritta, nirodha, to quiet down your mind. In all of the Yoga Sutras, this work that he created, he doesn't even mention yoga poses. So the yogis were trying to quiet down their mind, right? To stop feeding that old habit pattern of the mind that's creating the world that we see. And to quiet down, to start, you know, being able to notice where their mind is so they can put their mind in a place where they think is optimal, instead of their mind going back to the place our parents, our coaches, our teachers, our society has influenced. Right? And so for the yogis, it was a no-brainer. Whenever they stop meditating, right, and they get up to go to the toilet, and when they get up to chop wood, they get up to wash dishes. This is called dishwashing asana. It is. You know what asana means? Asana means to sit quietly. To sit quietly. How come this is Parsarita Padattanasana? How come this is Uttiyata Hasta Paradustasana? How come this is Ardha Chandrasana? Asana means to sit quietly, and in none of these poses are you sitting. You know, maybe they're not talking about our body. Maybe they're saying to us, is your mind quiet in half moon? Is your mind quiet in spread left? Is your mind quiet in extended hand to foot pose? Maybe they're not talking about the body. You know, but most of us, we're not really worried about the mind. We're very much into making this a physical practice. We're worried about how much we can do and how far we go. Anyways, for the yogis, right, it was a no-brainer. Whatever they did, they tried to do with awareness, because this was what their life was dedicated to, creating awareness. Right? So they bring this awareness into washing dishes, into chopping wood, and now they bring this awareness into exercise. Right? But for us Westerners, who have no foundation in meditation, what are we bringing in? What are we bringing in? We're bringing in our mind, which is much different than that mind. You know, we can be bringing in our vanity. We can be bringing in our competitiveness. We can be bringing in our judgmentalness and our criticalness. Is there anybody in this room who can think of anything you're more judgmental and critical about than your own body? How you look? I mean, you know, we could bring all this stuff in here. And what I notice people doing, and I've told you, I've seen a lot of people, but what I've noticed people do is they bring their shaisa to yoga. Okay? This is what they do. They bring their shaisa to yoga, and they turn yoga into shaisa. And they don't even fucking know it. They don't know it because they're not looking for their shaisa. They're not. They're too busy trying to touch their head to relax. Can any of you in this room, I hope you guys aren't as shy as the Swiss people. They just sit there so quiet. Can any of you in this room, I'm not used to that, you know, I'm coming from California. fuck you. Okay. Can any of you in this room, literally, I've been pondering this for 33 years. Can any of you in this room think of one intelligent reason to touch your head to your legs? Huh? I mean, can you think of one intelligent reason to touch your head to your legs? I've been trying to wonder why do I want to go farther in this pose? What the fuck is that in me that wants to do more? You know, what is that? I mean, one time I said, can you think of any intelligent reason to touch the head to the knees? And some girl said, because there's ice cream on my knees. Okay, you might have a personal reason to want to do it, but I'm talking about health benefits. Health benefits. I can think of one intelligent reason to touch the head to the legs. And if you remind me later, I'll tell you. Okay, I'll leave you hanging with that for a little bit. Okay, I'll tell you if you remind me, because, you know, I've smoked so much dope that I have no memory left. So I'll probably forget. So you'll have to remind me. Too many years in Amsterdam. Now I don't have to go there, because California has made it legal. So, you know, you can remind me later, but what is it? What is it that makes us want to go farther? What is it that makes us want to do more? You know, have any of you ever read any proof in your entire life that looser people are healthier and happier people? I mean, seriously, I mean, this is what we don't, it's like we're acting irrationally. We don't ponder things, we just kind of go along with the way things are. So we just do in this yoga what we're doing outside of yoga. It becomes no different. You know, have any of you read any proof that people who run marathons or triathlons are healthier and happier people? They're probably way more fucked up and damaged. Because there's a law on this planet, and that law says the harder you are on anything, the faster you wear it out. If you're going to be really hard on your body's going to break down faster than anybody's body. It might have a short-term response of building up, but the reason it's building up is just to protect itself, because it doesn't ever want to fucking do that again. But this is the way we are, you know, and so why do we want to be loose? And I always say to people, I say, you know, if you really want to be flexible, if you really want, do you guys have in California, we have this, it's amazing, I think you have it here. It's this French-Canadian circus called the Cirque du Soleil. Have you ever seen this? I mean, it really is amazing to watch. These people, these bodies, what they can do. I always say to people, you know, if you really want to be flexible, then you should not do yoga. You should join the training school for Cirque du Soleil. Because I've never seen a yoga person that's flexible. This is not what yoga is about. You know, if this is what you want, go do this. That's not what this is about. But, you know, this is what I see we're turning into. We're turning into, you know, going farther, doing more. And then we have all these schools of yoga arguing with each other, which is the right way to do each pose. You know? I mean, who's right? The Israelis or the Palestinians? Who's right? The Turks or the Armenians? You know, who's right? The Sunni or the Shia? You know, who's right? The Republicans or the Democrats? You know, who's right? The Iyengars or the Ashtantis? You know? I mean, now the schools of yoga are arguing with each other. This is the right way, this is the wrong way. You see? We brought our shaisa into yoga and we turned yoga into shaisa. You know, this has nothing, I want you guys to understand yoga in a little bit different perspective. And if you already understand this, wonderful. I'm reaffirming it. And this is important too, because we don't hear it enough out there. You know, this is what yoga class is supposed to be. It's community of like-minded people coming together to support each other in a certain mentality. So that mentality becomes strong. When we go out on the streets, we can hold on to that mentality. Because it's not easy, because we don't get a lot of support out there. But yoga doesn't want you to be flexible. Yoga doesn't want you to be strong. And yoga doesn't want you to be skinny. And yoga doesn't want you to be pretty. And yoga sure as hell doesn't want you to stay young. That's like wanting you to stay ignorant. But I bet you that's what we want. That's what we want. So what we've done is we brought our agenda into yoga, and we're using yoga to facilitate our agenda. But in truth, yoga was supposed to free us from our agenda. Yoga was supposed to free us from needing this stuff to feel good about ourselves or to be happy. Yoga doesn't want to change you. Yoga is really fucking weird. Yoga doesn't want to change you, and the reason yoga doesn't want to change you is because yoga doesn't look at you like you're wrong and you're broken. Yoga doesn't look at you like there's something wrong with you, and there's something wrong with whatever it is in your life you're going through right now that's helping you learn and grow and become all that you're becoming. Yoga respects you. Yoga respects your process. It doesn't reject it. It doesn't think there's something wrong. Could any of you could you imagine going to the feet of Jesus Christ and Jesus saying, man, you're fucking fat. Did you think about going on a diet? Could you imagine that? Could you imagine going to the feet of Gautama the Buddha and Buddha saying, fuck man, look at that gray hair, why don't you diet? Or Mother Teresa, what do you expect from these people? You expect to be loved and accepted, one place where, you are loved and you don't have to be different than you are and you're being embraced and accepted. Do you think this yoga is any different? This is the same thing. I mean, these are the greatest yogis who ever walked on the planet. Jesus Christ, Gautama the Buddha, Mother Teresa. These are the greatest yogis. This is the same thing. But what people do is they come to this yoga and they're trying to change themselves. They're trying to get flexible. They're trying to get strong. They're trying to go deeper. They're trying to go further. They want this. They want that. It's craziness. I'm thinking that the reason that I want to go deeper into this pose, because there's no health benefit. Right? My body, when I do this pose, I start to feel pain and discomfort right here. I start to feel pain and discomfort. That's my body saying, please stop. Please stop, please. If someone else says to you, please stop, and you don't stop, in America we call this rape. We call this assault and battery. We call this breaking and entering. Someone says, don't come in, and you go in anyways. This is a crime. They put you in jail. But this is the way people exercise. They're not even listening to their body because they're too busy trying to make the pose look like it looks in that yoga book. They're too busy trying to go further, even though they don't know why they're trying to go further. They only listen to their body when it becomes so painful there's no choice. But at that point, it's overkill. It's too much. Right? A good thing turns into a bad thing. Good. How many of you in this room are vegetarians? Anybody? Any vegetarians? Okay. Vegetarians, personally, I like meat. Okay? So you eat your tofu, I'll eat my steak. Okay? Tofu's got a lot of nutrients in it. Steak's got a lot of nutrients in it. You eat your tofu, I eat my steak, we both eat a little bit, it's fine, we feel good. You eat too much, I eat too much, it's poison. I don't care if it's tofu, I don't care if it's steak, I don't care if it's carrots. It doesn't matter. Too much of anything turns into poison, anything. Right? And it's the same with these poses. And this is what people are doing. They're not listening to their body, they're going too far because they're trying to get to a point that they've been told they need to get to. They're trying to fulfill this agenda of theirs. And I really think that the reason people want to go deeper, this is what I think. I could be wrong about this. I think there's two reasons. I think one is just pure ignorance. They don't know any better. They don't know. They're kind of locked into this mentality and they haven't looked outside the mentality. Because if they look outside the mentality, they'll realize it doesn't make sense. But the other reason I think people want to go farther is because they don't like themselves the way they are. They don't like themselves. I don't know if it's because we come from a Christian society and we were told at the time that we were born that we're sinners. I don't know where the fuck it began. But it seems like we're always trying to get somewhere. We're always trying to get looser, stronger, richer, this, that, and then we bring this into yoga. And we use yoga to facilitate that. This is not about that. If your mentality is, I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I get my red Ferrari. I'll be happy when I get married. I'll be happy when I have babies. I'll be happy when I touch my head to my legs. Then, whenever you get what you want, you have this momentary feeling of gratification, but then you go into wanting something else because you never changed your mentality. Your mentality is, I'll be happy when. If any of us really want to be happy, and I'm talking about not excitement like, is your wedding day. I'm talking about a level of peace and contentment within you. The fact that you love yourself and you're okay with who you are and where you're at. And you know, this kind of happiness, this is the opposite of stress. This is the opposite of thinking there's something wrong. You're understanding that everything's right. Even though it doesn't always feel good. It's right. You know, this is the opposite of stress. This might be the most important thing to all of us being physically healthy. Right? And if any of us really, really want to be happy, at one point or another, we're going to have to say, I'm fucking cool just the way I am. I'm okay right now, regardless of how I look in this pose. Regardless of how many wrinkles are on my face. Regardless of how much money I have or this or that other thing. I'm happy now. No, that's the only way we could ever really be happy. Is to be okay with where we're at. So I think all I'm really saying is, why don't we just fucking work on that? Why don't we just cut right to the chase and work on that? This is what power is. This is really what it is. You know, I walk through my life, you know, it's crazy. I walk through my life and I'm always wanting things, you know. I'm walking down the street and I want all the girls to stop and look at me. Look at Bryan. He's so beautiful. You know, I want all the guys to move out of the way because my muscles are so big. Clear out of my way. You know, I want a red Ferrari. And I want to be really rich, but I only want to work 1 day a week. And I do want a beautiful wife, and I want a big house, and I want everything my society has told me I should have. I want. You know, and then I come into yoga, and I want to do triangle pose perfectly. I want to touch my head and my legs. I want to do a handstand. I want white light to descend upon me. You know what I really want? I want Kundalini to shoot up my asshole. I want Kundalini. I want. And now I come to yoga. I want. Can someone please tell me what's the difference between outside and inner? I'm just doing the same thing. Now I'm doing it in yoga, and I'm doing it in the camouflage of yoga poses. So okay, I'm doing yoga poses, but so what? I'm still doing the same damn thing. Nothing's changing. Because no one's telling me to look at my mind. They're trying to push me deeper into the pose. Next time a yoga teacher is pushing you deeper into the pose, I want you to look up at them and say, why the fuck are you pushing me? See what they say. Aren't you interested? Especially if it hurts. You know, but we let them do it because this is, you know what this yoga teacher has become? This yoga teacher has become my gymnastics coach. Because you know, we're the ballet coach. You know, they're pretty tough and they push. You know, or they become my parents. This is my comfort zone. This is what I'm used to. You know, God forbid my yoga teacher say, oh, you're beautiful, you're perfect. You don't have to do anything. Look at you. Don't you see how fucking beautiful and perfect you are? Then you say, oh, fuck you, I'm going to go get someone who can fix me. Because we think that we're wrong. We want to go farther. It's craziness. You know, and this is what we do. And, you know, I have this one example. It's not a great example, but I give it because I saw it, you know. And, you know, I have this one guy, we're in a balancing pose like this, right? We're in a balancing pose. And the guy falls out of the balancing pose, and I hear him say, shit, Jesus Christ. He's frustrated, he's angry that he fell out of the pose, because he has an image of himself as holding it like the Statue of Liberty. You know? And now the image is becoming destroyed, and he starts to react. And this is the foundation of stress, right? Reaction. React. Right? So, and then he looks around the room. Right? Now he's distracted. He's looking around the room, and he sees everybody else is holding it like the Statue of Liberty. And then he gets more angry, and he gets judgmental, and he gets critical, and he says, oh, look at them. They're all holding it like the Statue of Liberty, and I'm falling like Humpty Dumpty. I'm no good at this yoga. I suck at yoga. You know, he gets all mad and frustrated. How many of you come to yoga to strengthen your frustratedness? How many of you come to yoga to strengthen your judgmentalness? How many of you come to yoga to strengthen your anger? How many of you come to yoga to strengthen your criticalness? How many of you come to yoga to strengthen your distractedness? How many of you come to yoga to strengthen your reactiveness? This is what he's doing, and he doesn't even know it. He has no idea. Because he's making this about the stupid pose. He's not even looking at the mindset. He's making it about the pose, and no one's telling him to look at the mind. It's all about the pose and how much they can do and how far they go. Every time you have an angry thought, you etch deeper into the stone of your psyche, anger. Every time you have a judgmental thought, you etch deeper into the stone of your psyche, judgment, criticism, distractedness, reactiveness. Wherever you're indulging, you're strengthening. Every time the cigarette smoker has a smoke, they strengthen that addiction to nicotine. Most of us walk around our entire life strengthening all the shit in the life that's hurting us, and we don't even know it. Because we're not looking at our mental state. We're not. We're not aware of our mind. This is why Patanjali said, Chitta Vritta Nirodha. You know, the yogis made this wonderful discovery. It's beautiful. I noticed this. They discover that there's nothing happening in the world. You know when you read the newspaper or you watch the news or you're on the internet and you see the children that are starving, you see the people in poverty, you see the crime, you see the war, you see all the stuff that's going on. It's a little hard to watch. It's painful. You think, why does it have to be this way? You know, obviously cell phones and space travel are not the answer. Now, cell phones and space travel are just making everything worse. Right? Now there's more pollution, now we're more stressed. For the first time in the whole history of human beings, we have the ability to destroy ourselves, not only with a bomb, but with this pollution and global warming. Obviously, the answer is not that. Maybe the answer was the teachings of Jesus Christ. Maybe the answers were the teaching of Gautama the Buddha. Maybe the answers were the example of Gandhi or Mother Teresa. All these great beings came to this planet to show us something. And none of them said, you need to stick your leg behind your head. They all said the same damn thing, the 10 Commandments, the example of Jesus, the teachings of Buddha, the example of Mother Teresa. They all said, look at your mind. Well, the yogis noticed that there's nothing happening in the world, nothing, that's not happening inside of you. They noticed, they realized, they discovered that the consciousness on this planet is no more than the individual consciousness that contributes to that. That's probably why Gandhi's most famous quote was, be the change that you want to see. Because it can't change in the world if it doesn't change in me. And they're not talking about loosening your hamstrings. They're not. They're talking about stop feeding the mindset that's creating this, because as long as we're contributing to it, it's going to stay strong. There's a wonderful law on this planet. This is one of the nice things about getting older. As you get older, you start seeing shit over and over again, and the shit starts making sense. This is called wisdom. One of the things you see is these laws. And when you understand the laws, you start to live inside the laws and your life becomes much easier. One of the laws you see is, if you give it food, it becomes strong. If you don't give it food, it starves and dies. This is a law. If you give it food, it becomes strong. If you don't, it starves and dies. So the question is, what are we constantly feeding? What mentality are we constantly feeding and we're not even aware of? We're not even aware of it. Then we bring this mentality into yoga and we're feeding it in yoga class. We're not aware. All of you know the goal of yoga, right? Anybody here not know the goal of yoga? What's the goal of yoga? Anyone want to take a guess? Any of you ever heard of a word called enlightenment? Any of you heard of the word? Is that a German word for that? What is it? Erleuchtung. One more time, louder.
Erleuchtung.
Enlightenment. So, this is the goal of yoga. This has nothing to do with the physical practice. Nothing. But it's so simple. Remember I told you that I haven't gone to school past 15 years old, traditional school. You know, so I like things that are simple. If it gets too complicated, I get confused because my brain doesn't work that way. You know, and this is what I found yoga to be simple. It's for everybody. It's not just for rocket scientists and brain surgeons and people who own film companies. This is even for simple people like me. Right? Enlightenment. Look at this word, enlightenment. Enlighten. Enlighten means to turn on the light, to make light. This is what the word means, to bring light. Because I cannot see when it's dark. I can only see when it's light. So enlightenment means to see, to be able to see. This means to become aware, to start to become aware. So the goal of yoga is awareness. And yoga practice is the cultivation of awareness. Because it's only when you can become aware, that you're aware, that you can start to see how you are. And you can stop doing the things that are hurting you, your family, and all beings on planet Earth. It's only when this guy sees, see, he's not seeing how he is. He's so busy working with his toes, he's not even noticing how he is. And this is about to start to notice. Because then when you notice, you can stop doing it. And then it becomes weaker and weaker and weaker and dies, remember? If you don't give it food, it dies. What the hell are we feeding? I don't know how things are here in Austria, but in the States, a lot of Americans have this very nervous habit. They bite their nails. Right? They bite their nails. And they don't want to bite their nails, a lot of them. They want to stop. So Americans, being so incredibly brilliant, we thought of something to help them stop biting their nails. We thought, put chili powder on their fingers. Right? Put chili powder on, we probably stole it from the Mexicans, but put chili powder on the fingers. So then, check it out, you put chili powder on the fingers. Right? You put chili powder on the fingers, and let's say it's a girl, right? The girl goes to bite her nails, and her mouth burns. You know what this is called? Enlightenment. This is enlightenment. Now she's aware that she's biting her nails. Now she has a choice in her life. She never had a choice before. Now she has a choice. Now she becomes the captain of her own ship. Before, she wasn't the captain. She was just a passenger and the ship was sailing. Now she has a choice. So you know what she says? She says, you know what? I want to keep biting my nails. So you know what she does? She goes to the sink, she washes off the chili powder, and she keeps biting her nails. Fine. Yoga doesn't care if you bite your nails or not. Yoga just cares that you're making the choice. Because yoga understands that if biting your nails ends up hurting you, then now that you know that you made a choice to bite your nails, now you can make another choice to stop biting your nails. So the wrong choice leads to the right choice if you make the wrong choice with awareness. So there is no more wrong choices. Or you stop biting your nails right there and then, and you benefit. See, yoga won't tell you to bite your nails or not. Yoga won't tell you to touch your head to your legs. Yoga won't tell you how to do triangle pose perfectly. Yoga won't tell you to be a vegetarian. If any of you want to be told what to do, become a Christian. Okay? Become a Jew. Become a Muslim. They'll tell you what to wear. They'll tell you what to eat. They'll tell you what time to go to bed. They'll tell you, this is what you want, go do it. This is not yoga. Yoga will never tell you what to do. The only thing yoga will tell you is, wake the fuck up. Wake the fuck up. See how you are and decide if it's benefiting you, your family, and all beings on this earth. This is what yoga will tell you to do, or ask you to do. Wake the fuck up. Start to become aware. And if we're not working on this, we're not doing yoga. That's it. That's it. This is what it is. And then if we're working on this is why this is called dishwashing asana. Because even though they're not doing exercises, they're still doing yoga. They're trying to do it with awareness. Anything on earth can become yoga practice if you're practicing doing it with awareness. And as far as these yoga poses are concerned, by the way, everybody, once we start practicing, you're going to be happy I talked this long. What, you don't think 2 hours is long enough? Wait till you see. This is so crazy. This is so crazy. Everybody, the reason you see so many yoga poses, there's more yoga poses than anybody in this room could ever do. Okay? There's millions of them. There's no way you could do them all, let alone master them all, even though there's no such thing as mastering them. But the reason there's so many yoga poses is because all yoga poses are, I love this again, it's very simple. All yoga poses are creative ways to access places in your body. That's all. If your skin color is light, like mine, and you rub your skin, this skin very shortly will turn pink or red. The reason is because whenever there's stimulation, there's circulation. The blood brings in the nourishment and flushes out toxins. This is the job of the blood. The blood creates regeneration. So the yogis, understanding this, what they tried to do is they tried to create stimulation all over the body so the blood would flow everywhere, so every place in the body could be well. Why the fuck do we gotta go to India for that? It's crazy. How come there's not one Western exercise that makes this effort? You know, but you go to a gym and there's 20 machines for your biceps and 20 machines for your butt cheeks, but there's not one machine for your asshole. Even though there's not a muscle in your body more likely to give you problems later on in life. There's no place more likely to become arthritic and problematic than your toes. Why is there no machine for the toes? What about the wrist? Carpal tunnel disease. This is huge these days with everybody on this computer. After the common cold, there's not a greater ailment in our world than spine problems. Where's the machine for the spine? Why is there 20 machines for places in the body that there's never been a problem with, and there's no machines for some of the biggest problematic areas of the body? Is it really a health club? Or is it a vanity club? I'm just asking. I'm not judging or criticizing it. Because I can go to a gym and I can use those machines with awareness, and those machines can be healing. But my workout's going to be missing some things because there's no machines for all these other places. See, the yogis didn't think you were ugly. The yogis didn't think that there was anything wrong with your body type. So the yogis didn't develop an exercise to make you look pretty because they didn't think you looked ugly. They made an exercise to take care of you. And when you think about taking care of something, you think about touching everything, right? Isn't the integrity of the web dependent on the resiliency of every strand? How many of you woke up this morning and you thought to yourself, you know what? I'm going to brush every tooth in my mouth except for this one. Any of you have this thought? It's insanity. Why would you miss a tooth? Right? This is the way most people exercise. The yogis were like, shit, let's brush it all. Let's brush it all. Right? So here you got a pose, you know, that's brushing your balance. Balance is part of fitness. You're brushing your balance. It doesn't matter how many times you fall. All that matters is you're trying. And you're stimulating your balance. And also your butt muscle, which is supporting you, you're stimulating butt muscle. When you do this, you're stimulating your knees. You know, when you do this, you're stimulating your quadriceps. You know, when you do this, you're stimulating your hamstrings. When you do this, you're stimulating your shoulders. All these poses are creative ways to stimulate places in your body so the blood will flow so they can stay well. Is that so complicated? I mean, it's so simple. So basically, if you're feeling it, it's working. As long as you're feeling it, it doesn't matter, it's working. All you have to do is feel it. So when I do this pose, I'm feeling it here, it's working. I'm benefiting as much as anybody on earth can possibly benefit from this pose. I'm even benefiting more than the person who has their palms on the ground. If I'm respecting what I'm feeling and they're not. If they're pushing too hard. There's another law on this planet. Tell me if you've ever seen anything that's outside of this law. I know those of you who are over 30, you've noticed this, right? Under 30, you got a little ways to go. Unless you've really been watching. But this law says, the harder you are on anything, the faster you wear it out. Have you ever seen anything that doesn't fall under that law? Your marriage, your automobile, your body. The harder you are on it, the faster you wear it out. If any of you consider it, it doesn't make sense to push hard. What makes sense is to be gentle. But it's not easy to be gentle because you know what? If you're gentle, you won't win that triathlon. If you're gentle, you won't grow your bicep bigger than your head. If you're gentle, you might not touch your head to your legs. Look around this room right now. You'll see 40, 50 different faces. You think it's only in your face that's different? How many you want to bet? How much do you want to bet everybody in this room has different length hamstrings? How much you want to bet everybody in this room has different shaped hips? Are you sure we're all supposed to touch our head to our legs? It's insanity. It's complete insanity. We're different. We're all supposed to go to a different place. This is the beauty of the human race. We got an entire society of people trying to jam themselves to the same place. It's craziness. We're all supposed to go different. But if you're gentle and you go to the place that you should be because you're working with what you're feeling, which is why you were getting feelings, you ain't going to make it look the way you want it to look. And so then you have this battle. Now this battle is biblical. This is a biblical battle. This is the battle of the angel and the devil. Right? This is a battle. The angel is your wisdom. The devil is your vanity. Or the angel is your truth. And the devil is your fear. Right? So you're in a yoga pose right now. You're bending over. And you start to feel discomfort. And the angel comes and says, oh, stop. Stop. It hurts. This is why you feel pain. To stop you and protect you. And it doesn't even make sense to go deeper because you're feeling it. It's already working. Right? And then the devil comes and says, oh no. You cannot stop. Look at you. You look like Shaista. You should have your feet straight. You should have your hands on the floor. Didn't you fucking see the picture in that book? How many of you are having the battle? How many of you in this room are having the battle between the angel and the devil? Because I'll tell you something right now. If you're not having the battle, you haven't started practicing yoga yet. You haven't even started. This is the main battle of yoga. And I have this battle every day. You know what? I lose this battle a lot. You know why I lose this battle? Because my devil is so fucking strong and my angel is so weak. Because I spent my entire life strengthening the devil. I spent my entire life strengthening my vanity, strengthening my competitiveness, strengthening my judgmentalness, my criticalness. So I go into this pose and my vanity is so big that I shut the angel up. Shut the fuck up, angel. I'm gonna go deeper. You know? And then afterwards I'm like, fuck, I lost the battle again. But then I have another battle. And that is to not judge myself for losing the battle. Because that's the tendency, right? You just go, to a workshop, and the workshop says, judging is such a sick quality, competitiveness, criticalness, it's so sick, you shouldn't do it, it's creating so much stress in you and all beings. And then you go home from the workshop, and you start to, you judge somebody for something, you start, criticizing them or whatever it is, And then you catch yourself. You catch yourself being judgmental and critical. And then you know what most people do? Because they know they don't want to be judgmental and critical, so then they start judging themselves and criticizing themselves for being judgmental and critical. You gotta be careful you don't fall into this trap. So I just noticed, oh, I lost the battle. I smile, and I say, you know what, I'll fight that battle again tomorrow. And slowly but surely, my angel's becoming a little bit stronger. My angel's becoming stronger. My devil's becoming a little weaker. Because slowly but surely, I'm empowering the angel. Because I'm starting to be aware of this battle. Most people are not even aware of this. They're just moving, trying to go further, trying to go deeper, trying to do more. They don't know why. And now, you know what's really cool? Now I'm having the same battle outside of yoga. Now I'm walking down the street, and I start to notice where my mind is. Like, what am I thinking about? Am I reinforcing the habit patterns? Right? Because if my yoga only helps me when I'm on my mat, it's worthless. This needs to come off the mat and help me in my life. Now I'm walking down the street and I notice, shit, I'm having angry thoughts. You know, anger was an issue for me. And when I have angry thoughts, I feel Kundalini shooting up my asshole. I swear to God, it's like a drug addict shooting heroin. I'm so addicted to where my mind goes that there's a part of me that loves it, even though it's so damaging. And then I try hard to pull my mind away from these angry thoughts and come back to what I'm doing. You know, feeling the breeze hit my skin, noticing the beautiful flowers, feeling my feet on the ground. You know, maybe anger's not your issue, but we all got something. And it's not just anger. I notice myself having these sexual thoughts. I notice myself having these vanity thoughts. I notice me having thoughts of attachment. I notice all these places my mind goes, and I'm totally missing what's happening right now in my life. Can any of you think of a greater miracle that ever possibly could exist? Can any of you think of a greater miracle than the fact that you're alive right now? It's the greatest miracle that there could ever be. And most of us are missing the miracle because we're too busy thinking about other things. The psychology department at Harvard University did a study, and they discovered that over 80% of the thoughts that you have are the same thoughts you have every single day. 80% of the stuff in your head is shisa. And I didn't say it, Harvard said it. Now, do you think it's a coincidence that Harvard discovered that and Patanjali's telling us to quiet down our mind? And you know what the yogis honestly believe? That your life is your teacher. And most of us are missing the teachings because we're too busy thinking about something else. Our mind is constantly wandering away. And now I can't even pull it back, right? I'm having these angry thoughts, and then I start to notice angry thoughts. I don't want to have these thoughts. I don't want to strengthen anger. So then I bring my mind back. And then I bring my mind back to my feet, just touching the ground as I walk. And then I get so fucking bored. I'm like, I'm supposed to just feel my feet touching the ground? My fantasies are so much more interesting. My angry thoughts are so much more fulfilling. But this is what happens. We become so addicted to where our mind goes that when you try to break the addiction, you get bored. If you ask any addict that's trying to break an addiction, they'll tell you they go through boredom, fidgetiness, anxiety. This is all part of breaking an addiction. You gotta go through boredom before you get to peace. But now you know why the largest factor in our physical health is the stress that comes from our mind. We're so addicted to our mind being busy that we actually think that being peaceful is boring. All we want in our fucking life is peace. And when we get it, we can't deal with it. We gotta find our cell phone. We gotta find the computer. We gotta turn on the TV. We gotta call a friend. We gotta check our email. We gotta go to a cafe. We can't even deal with what we want because we become addicted to something else. And it's a stage you gotta go through, and most people don't make it through that stage because withdrawal symptoms are uncomfortable. So it's not surprising we've made this a physical practice, right? Because then we don't have to deal with any of our shit. We don't have to deal with that. But this is really what the power yoga is. This is why we call it power yoga. What's more powerful than that? You know, than starting to weaken the qualities of our mind that are damaging us and starting to strengthen the qualities of our mind that will help us. And this is what the yoga practice is. It's the time you spend in your day strengthening benevolent qualities and eradicating malevolent qualities. This is what we're supposed to use that for. And you can't do it if you're not practicing becoming aware. Now, just to kind of bring it all full circle and then we'll get going. All of you know what the healthiest exercise is. Do you? Maybe you know. I think you know what the healthiest exercise in the world is. So far, most studies are saying walking. She's probably heard this talk before. Walking. You know, I love that. You know why? Because walking's not beating the shit out of yourself running. You're pounding your knees, pounding your hips, pounding your lower back. And walking's not sitting on your ass doing nothing. What is walking?
Meditation.
It might not be meditating, that's for damn sure. It depends where your mind is. But walking is gentle. It's gentle. Study after study. It's gentle. It's just gentle. What's gentle? Gentle is moderate. What's moderate? Moderate is balance. What's balance? Balance is health. Gentleness equals health. So what we have to do is we have to start practicing gently, which means all our vanity issues are going to come up, which is great because they can't come out if they don't come up. So when they come up, we can stop feeding them mental energy and unconscious loyalty by not paying attention to them. And we just try to practice gently. But here's the catch. You can't practice gently if you're not paying attention. You have to pay attention. Okay? At my house, I have 2 pets. I have a 60-kilo white German Shepherd. Okay? And I have a little pet ant named Harriet. You know what an ant is? Okay? An ant. I got a 60-kilo white German Shepherd named Beauty and a little ant named Harriet. And you know what? They both like to be pet gently. But gentleness is different. When I pet the 60-kilo hunk of muscle dog, I have to pet him like really firm because he's so strong. If I don't press firm, he won't feel it. But I still am being gentle, but I'm being firm. Now, if I try to pet my ant the same way, I'll squish the little girl. I've already killed 8 ants. I've killed 8 ants because I thought gentleness is the same. No. Gentleness is different every moment of every day in every different situation. The only way you can be gentle is to pay attention. Now, this is when your yoga practice, this is when Eastern calisthenics becomes yoga asana. Because the only way you can be gentle is to feel how your body's responding to the experience. And if you feel how your body's responding, you can't think about anything else. Did any of you notice you cannot pay attention to one thing and think about something else? It's impossible. Right? So when you start to be gentle, your mind focuses on your experience. You become present in your life. You know what we call that? We call that sucking the juice out of every moment of our life. Some people like to call it living the miracle. Living the miracle. I'm actually paying attention. And when you pay attention, your mind becomes quiet. This is the first step of all of meditation. It's called focus and concentration. This is the first step. This is when calisthenics becomes yoga. And when your mind becomes quiet, you open up an entire world of possibilities. Now you are practicing yoga. This is the only thing in 33 years that I've ever seen that differentiates yoga from other activities. It's this quietness. When your mind is quiet, you can relax. Can any of you think of any other way on earth to relax without quieting down your mind? Can any of you think of anything more opposite of stress than relaxing? Right there, you have the healthiest thing you could ever possibly do for your body. When your mind's quiet, you can feel what your body's saying. You can hear what your body's saying. They say the key to all healthy communication is being a better listener. Every relationship in your life will start to improve because you start to learn how to listen. This is the key to intimacy. Right? And when you can hear what your body's saying, your decisions can be more optimal, and then your practice becomes healing because you're honoring what you're feeling. You know, you guys, you can't drive across the mountains and go to Venice every day. You can't. But you know what you can do? You can get on your yoga mat, you can start to pay attention to the experience you're having, and all of a sudden your skin color, your bank account, your job, your family, your friends, Iraq, Afghanistan, yesterday, tomorrow, your gender, your waistline, even your own fucking name. Everything disappears. Everything. You want to talk about a vacation? Everything disappears. And then you can create this amazing environment for insight and perspective. Just for perspective, we got to step away from things. This is what happens when your mind becomes quiet. And one last thing. When your mind becomes quiet, because it has to be quiet in order to feel what you're feeling, so your practice can be gentle. You're no longer feeding the old program of your mind. You're not having angry thoughts, jealous thoughts, competitive thoughts, reactive thoughts, distracted thoughts. And if you do, you start to notice because you're present and you stop feeding them and you come back. The old mentality starts to become weaker and weaker and weaker. Because you're not feeding it mental energy and unconscious loyalty. How else did you plan on getting that shit out of you? You think touching your head to your leg's gonna do it? Okay, everybody. The person put hot sauce on their fingernails. Right? Their mouth burned. They became aware. They take their hands out of their mouth. The hot sauce worked. Awareness works. I have one last question for you. Maybe two last questions. My question to you is, how do you put hot sauce on your angry thoughts? How do you put hot sauce on your vanity? How do you put hot sauce on your judgmental nature? How do you put hot sauce on your competitiveness? How do you put hot sauce on your self-loathing? How do you put hot sauce on all the qualities of our mind that are contributing to the planet that we see? How do you put hot sauce on that shit? You can't. You can't. The only thing you can do is start practicing becoming aware. Start to make awareness the foundation of your practice, not these stupid movements. And then these movements become healing because you're doing them with awareness. And it doesn't matter you know, I mean, you'll get 20 schools of yoga telling you how to do each pose. You know, the Shivanandas will tell you put your hand on the inside, and the Bikrams will tell you put your hand on the outside, and the intervals will say grab your ankle, and the Shtangis will say get your big toe with 2 fingers, and the Iyengars will say put your hand on the block, and the Vinnies will say right heel in the middle of left foot, right? And the Devanandas will say right heel aligned with the other heel. There's more stability. And you know, a standard hatha class might say line your hand up with the other hand. And a power yoga class might say, open up and explore your full range of motion. And an anusara class might say, while you're here, make spirals. And a Jivamuti class might tell you how to do it, but they'll say you also need to be a vegetarian. Vegan, yeah. They used to be the same. But all those people are telling you, all they're telling you is different ways to do it. That's all they're saying. All those ways are right. They're just different ways. So when a yoga instructor tells you how to do a pose, all they're really saying is this is what I like to do right now. That's all they're saying. If you visit them in 10 years, I bet you they'll tell you something else. That's all they're saying. And all the ways are right. It just depends. But none of them might be right for you. You have to see. You know the Ashtangis, you know they want you to grab your big toe? Because they like this hamstring stretch. If you like the hamstring stretch, grab your big toe. But the Iyengars, they want you to put your hand on the block because they're interested in you lengthening your spine. Okay, you like that? Put your hand on the block. Which one do you like? Maybe one day you do it one way, one day you do it the other way. It just depends if you want. It's like here, you know, some people will say, you know, Bryan, should I turn my left hip down? Because it gives me more hamstring stretch. Or should I turn my hip up because then I really feel it in my glute muscle and my pelvic floor? I say, I don't fucking know. Why are you asking me? Those are 2 ways to do the same pose. What do you want? You want more hamstrings? Turn your head down. There's no rules. But you know how religious people get. They start getting attached to their religion, and they criticize other religions. The same thing's happening in yoga. People get attached to their way because they're not looking at their attachments. You know, the yogis traced back the root of all suffering. And they found the root of all suffering is attachment. The root of all suffering is attachment. And this is what people do. They get attached to their ways. But every power yoga, if anything, it's like, do whatever the fuck you want. You know, just do it with awareness. Now, when we do these poses, I'm gonna tell you how to do these poses, but I'm not telling you. I'm just suggesting to you things that I like. And I'm trying to accomplish 2 things: to create space in your body and to create stimulation. Right? So there's circulation and there's decompression. So if you're in a pose like this, I might say strengthen your leg to activate all of those muscles. It's not a rule. I'm just telling you the things that I like to do. When my back was really bad, I like to do it a little bit with a bent knee because it relieves the pressure in my lower back. Different ways. I might say reach through your left leg because it activates all the muscles and it creates traction in the hip joint. I might say drop your chin down to create length in your neck. I might say lift your arms up to activate your deltoids. I might say pull your chest out to create traction in your spine. I'm just giving you ways to aliven and awaken and decompress your body. But I love it when people say, fuck you, Bryan, I'm not doing that. I didn't come here to work out my control issues on you. Okay? I'm just giving you suggestions. I don't care if you do it or not. Maybe you're injured. Maybe something's going on in your body that I don't know. No yoga instructor on earth knows what's going on in your body, and no yoga instructor has a right to tell you what to do. They don't. You should never listen to a yoga instructor. You should only listen to yourself. But hear the instructor, because maybe they have some good ideas. That's all. Maybe they have some good ideas. Maybe you could give it a try. If it passes your 2 filters, your cognitive and your intuition. If it makes sense to you and it feels right, because you should never do anything that doesn't make sense or doesn't feel right. If it passes through those 2 things, give it a try. See if you like it. If you don't, discard it. If you do, bring it into your practice. And when I say like it, I don't mean that it's going to feel great to you. I mean that it's going to feel right to you. Sometimes things don't feel comfortable, but they still feel right. Sometimes things are challenging, but still incredibly sweet. I'm not saying don't challenge yourself. I'm just saying do it with sensitivity, and nothing should ever be excruciating. Nothing. That's your body saying get the hell out of it. Any questions? That's poweryoga. I can keep talking for 3 straight weeks, 8 hours a day, right, Barbara? I try to keep it short for you guys, but how could we do this without, it would be completely irresponsible. I mean, how could we do this without informing people? Because otherwise you guys will just do the same old shit you always do. There's a lot of you that might not be doing it with, making this your priority. Also, anyways, one girl asked one question. She said, Bryan, to me you're a hypocrite. You know this word hypocrite? It means like, you say one thing and you do the other. And when she said that, I felt the anger coming. I wanted to punch her. But because I'm practicing awareness, I notice anger, I breathe, I try not to react to it, and now I'm still here and I'm not in jail. See, awareness works. And because I didn't react so strongly, now when people call me hypocrite, I don't get so angry. Less and less because I'm no longer feeding that mentality anymore. Because I'm starting to become aware and I'm having a choice in my life. But she says, Bryan, to me you're a hypocrite. And I said, why? And she said, because you talk about gentleness, you say the harder you are on anything, the faster you wear it out. You talk about humility. I didn't mention it here today, but we can work on humility. Humility means get the hell out of your ego and put your knees down and take a break. Humility means back off. All the qualities that will enhance every relationship on planet Earth will enhance the relationship you have with yourself. As you start to strengthen these qualities, gentleness, humility, being a better listener, calmness, all these qualities you start to strengthen in order to make this practice healing, you start to notice all your relationships start to heal. Because you become better at these things that heal relationships. And you're starting with the one you have with yourself. So she says, okay, you work on humility, you talk about humility, back off. You talk about gentleness. You say the harder you are and everything, the faster you wear it out. You know what? To me, it's so hypocritical that you can say all this stuff, and now you're about to teach the hardest class I've ever fucking done in my life. So this is a good question. So understand, everybody, the reason this class is challenging is because none of you can practice staying calm in a difficult situation if we don't have any difficult situations. My life is difficult, and the difficulties in my life is what's creating the stress that's poisoning me. How I respond to those difficulties. So maybe I could have a safe place to practice responding less reactively. So here you are in a pose. This is what usually happens. You're in a pose, and you're starting to feel discomfort, right? And it starts to become uncomfortable. And what happens is people start to hold their breath. They start to strain. Their shoulders tight, their neck tight, their face starts making looks that would scare their mother. Right? Then they start to look around to see if anybody's having trouble besides them. Right? Then they're competing with the instructor because they're trying to stay as long as the instructor's staying here. Right? All this shit's coming up. They don't know any of that. They're not looking for any of that. They're too busy just trying to hold the pose. Okay, so, right, they have an opportunity to stay calm in a difficult moment because that life is full. Did any of you think of calmness as a muscle? It's a muscle. You need to start practicing it. They have an opportunity to stay focused, not to be distracted and competitive. And if it starts to become excruciatingly painful, they have an opportunity to get out of their friggin' ego and back off a little bit. Even to come out. How do you have an opportunity to strengthen your calmness if this class doesn't challenge you? How can you strengthen your humility, which means get the hell out of your ego and put your knees down, if this class is so easy you never have to do it? How can you practice? How can you practice being accepting of your boundaries and limitations if you never experience your boundaries and limitations? You know? And how do you practice? How do you practice being less judgmental and critical if you don't have a yoga instructor that burps and swears? I know exactly what I'm doing, and I want it all to come up so you can stop feeding it. This is my job. I am not the yoga teacher. I'm the yoga instructor. My job is to help create the environment for you to meet your teacher. And your teacher is not a person necessarily. It's an experience. Are you listening? I'm here to remind you. That's all. I don't want to take a bathroom break now. Remember, I've done this 16,000 times. If we take a bathroom break, everybody's going to go up and there's probably only 1 or 2 toilets. But it's going to take another 20 minutes at least. And you won't even get to pee. You'll just stand in line. So this is what I want to do. Right? Listen to this. I want you to hold it. Just listen. And when it gets intense, just practice not being reactive. Breathe into that. Because I don't want any of you to miss the opening instructions that takes 3 minutes. Okay? I want you to stay for that. Then after opening instructions, I want you to keep holding it. Okay, then when you really got to go bad, get up and go. There won't even be a line, no one will be there, you'll pee and you'll come back, it'll take 90 seconds. But if we all get up right now, forget it, we got another 20 minutes.